I'd like to welcome you all here today to the webinar about getting your licensing project off the ground. My name is Ava Diamond, and I'm Head of Product Marketing with Gemalto Sentinel. Doing the presentation today will be Abby Kara, who is a marketing manager with many years of experience. She's an expert in business processes, and very good at getting things more efficient. So very well equipped to present today. Some of the logistics. If you have any questions, please feel free to write the questions into the question box on the GoToWebinar viewer. We will answer questions at the end of the presentation, and if there's something that we can't answer today, we will get back to you with an answer. So please make sure to feel free again to include any questions you may have. Today's webinar will be recorded, so if you choose or would like to share this with a colleague of yours, you will be able to do so as well. Having finished with the logistics of today, I'd like to get Abby ready to go. Abby, it's all yours.
Thanks, Ava. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. We are actually going to be talking about getting your licensing project off the ground, which basically means we will be discussing best practices for initiating and implementing a winning licensing project. So let's start with the agenda. Oh, hang on just a moment. I'm just having an issue with my slide. So in the agenda, we will be covering what is software monetization and how is it different to what I do today. Why do I even need a software monetization program? How do you define what you need? Getting executive buy-in and why it's important, what teams should be involved, and what should I say to get an internal champion. So broadly, these are the subject areas we will be covering today. So let's start at the beginning. What is software monetization? I think majority of software vendors see monetization as a one-time event, basically when they go to market to sell. But actually, software monetization is making more money from your software. When implemented correctly, it helps your overall go-to-market strategy, grants your product flexibility to keep up with market trends. And what we do know, based on 30 years experience in working with software vendors, is that a software monetization strategy can help create a lot more value from your software throughout the complete product lifecycle. In a recent survey we ran with a third party, we interviewed 600 enterprise users and 180 software vendors, of which over 85% agreed that software vendors need to constantly adapt to evolving market needs, and software packaging must be flexible to meet a variety of customer needs. Software monetization also needs to provide a positive customer experience, and a simple example of this is with one of our current customers, HP, the printing company. We worked with them to provide a back office management system with a customized customer self-service portal, which substantially improved the customer onboarding experience and the support efficiency, thus helping corporates standardize standards for efficiency and consistency. Software monetization allows the company to scale. One example coming up quite a bit now is switching from hardware to software. Companies that manufactured and sold hardware devices who are now entering the software arena and are looking for a way to adapt to a number of business or payment models via entitlement management and software licensing. Reduce operating expenses is what everyone talks about, protecting your software, which all helps to drive revenue. Why is software monetization important? Why should I set up a software monetization program when I can just license my stuff and be finished with? I would say you need to take a step back, ask yourself these questions. What do I want to offer my customers? What are my goals for my product and the company? And lastly, how do I balance the two? When the two are balanced, your monetization strategy is more than just a licensing your product, but an integral part of your back office, adding to your bottom line by not only driving revenue, but also cutting cost. So I guess one of the reasons a lot of people say is, why do I need a software monetization strategy? Well, if you actually look at the business needs, how you actually want to go out to market, sell your software, have your customers use it in different ways. Do you want to integrate the back office with the front? Are you going to go for a time-based enforcement or a trial license? You need to ask yourself what you want to achieve. What are the business goals? What are your multiple payment options? Is it the remote feature upgrades? How do you do those seamlessly? Tracking your customer usage, making use of that information, or is it just a self-service licensing activation? I think once you've identified your business goals, we can then use them as the base of our licensing requirements. And by the way, setting up a software monetization program does not have to be a major or disruptive undertaking, meaning the whole thing at once. It is possible to start small with one piece and grow. That is the real beauty of a software monetization program. There are a number of pieces that fit together like a puzzle. When approaching licensing decisions, most companies immediately think of licensing technology itself and are not really considering the business processes or the people involved in the licensing equation. A successful licensing strategy and implementation demands a big picture approach that considers people, processes, and technology. We always go back to the questions covered earlier. What does your company want to accomplish? Multiple payment options, trial time-based enforcement, remote feature upgrades, tracking customer usage, self-service license activation. When you have defined all the business needs, you need to look at, is this a business process or a technology integration? Once you defined what you need, as I mentioned in the previous slide, you should then think about how to implement. From our experience, usually the initial approach to implement a licensing solution, the technology integration is what most companies think should come first. What licensing technology is needed and go through a vendor selection process. They define a licensing architect and roadmap, create a licensing engineering plan, and deploy and implement licensing. But actually, if you go back to what we've been talking about today, first you do need to create a corporate licensing strategy that has the right business priorities and vision. Ensure that you have the right licensing philosophies and policies in place, that you have a licensing deployment model, and that you have specified your licensing requirements, and that you have identified your licensing use case. All of this actually takes into consideration your business process integration before you even think or look at the technology integration. And then you have some stages that should also fall in line, like how should the licensing flow work to be defined, and does it take into consideration the customer experience? Prior to launch, make sure you have covered your internal preparation, communicated the licensing strategy, and have the enablement in place to deliver. You have a well-documented external licensing program to roll out. And lastly, the licensing program management in place, which you can then optimize. Technology alone is not going to solve your problem, as you are likely to have as many business process challenges as technical issues. Getting executive buy-in. Often, product managers recognize the need for a comprehensive software monetization solution and take it upon themselves to drive the program within the organization. However, as licensing cuts across a number of departments, the product manager needs executive support to truly succeed. Therefore, executive buy-in is critical to the success of any software monetization initiative. So you need to ask yourself, why would an executive support or prioritize such an initiative? One reason might be that customer experience is not running as smoothly as it should be. For instance, if customers are complaining about implementation, activation, or any other stage of the licensing lifecycle. Another reason might be an organization is spending too much time dealing with licensing issues, placing an unreasonable load on the support team. So how does one go about pitching software monetization to C-level executives to get buy-in? One typical scenario is build versus buy rationale to explain how new licensing strategy would be an improvement over the existing homegrown system. Perhaps your organization is leaving a ton of money on the table because current business model isn't flexible enough or is not enforced licensing. The pitch should be about competitive replacement rather than maintaining a competitive edge. Whether that means improving the customer experience or reducing support calls or streamlining your back office. Whatever business challenges your organization is facing, there's a good chance that they can be resolved and even turned into opportunities using licensing technology. You will need to convince your executive that software monetization represents excellent business value, the fact that it enables you to retain and attract new customers and reach new valuable market segments while simultaneously safeguarding your existing revenue. Software monetization strategy minimizes the risk of your software becoming obsolete, therefore helping to future-proof your business. But always be prepared that there may be some pushback as benefits of software monetization program may not be immediately obvious to every executive. Start out by focusing on the short-term business benefits. For example, a new product on a subscription basis without proper licensing would not have the means of tracking or enforcing it, which would be waste of revenue opportunity. Once you have the executive buy-in, what you need to understand, and a lot of businesses don't look into this, is that software monetization cuts across the organization. You need to think about your organization as every department can benefit from a well-executed program. For example, automation or order fulfillment with a back office integration, how you can actually reduce customer support calls. With entitlement management, you are able to create product catalogs and package your offering as needed without getting engineering involved. Think about how a licensing is handled today. Who is involved? Licensing requires team collaboration. Therefore, before you make any decision, it is important to involve someone from each of the other departments across your company. Each will bring slightly different perspective, and together as a team, you will arrive at the best decision for your company and your customers. It is also very important that you assign an owner. Very often, in most organizations, no one person is responsible for licensing. Because the licensing of your software is such a critical part of your business strategy, it is important to choose someone who will not only lead the initial licensing decision, but will also own licensing post-launch. To be successful, this person should have solid customer background, understand what is happening in the field to ensure a good customer experience, is met, more often than not, license managers come from product management side of the business. By having one person caring for licensing, it gets the attention it deserves, ultimately making it easier for all other product managers, not to mention support teams. One would expect licensing decisions to take place in advance of launching a new software product, and they do. However, they should also be taking place at regular interviews throughout the software product life. If you take a good look at the economy, the market that your software serves, and the software industry as a whole, you would probably agree that there are many changes taking place. As a result, software licensing is no longer set it and forget kind of decision. Your company and your software licensing will also need to evolve to remain competitive. Hence, it is important to conduct reviews and planning sessions at regular interviews throughout the software product lifecycle. If you keep your monetization strategy up to date, it will be easier to keep your products up to date as well. Taking pricing model as an example, of late there have been many models becoming popular instead of the traditional buyer license model. When the right software monetization solution can offer additional payment options to your customers without any change to your product. When guiding a team in how to prepare and conduct one of these sessions for the first time, we recommend focusing on 3 specific business elements: sales models, operations, and license enforcements. And remember, to get it right, the big picture is key. Without first deploying the strategy and vision, and in addition to the licensing technology, also think about the people and the processes with which your license will have to integrate. You might not get it right the first time, but you do need to think of all those things in order to get it right. Meeting your business goals. I'll go back to the slide on why I needed a software monetization strategy. Well, it's to make sure that you are meeting your business goals. Only once you've actually met your business goals and you combine them with the business and technology requirements with a good planning and overall strategy are you able to achieve exactly what is needed from your business success, a focused software monetization strategy. We have the most complete offering in the market, 30 years experience, not just on any device through any sales channel. We can deliver via any application with any business model. Whether that's on-premise, hybrid, embedded or cloud, time-limited, business model, subscription, pay per use. And with our 30 years experience, we have some key customers, as you can see on screen. They have been customers, returning customers and growing customers that have gone from hardware to software, have a mixture of back office licensing. I'm sure if you contact your account manager, they'd be more than happy to go through case scenarios and explain how and what we have actually done with some of our key customers. And lastly, wherever you are, talk to us. If you have a concern, a licensing issue, or how to even take your product out to market, contact us and we will actually guide you through the process and make sure that when you do launch your software out to the marketplace, you have taken everything into consideration, whether that be starting small and then eventually growing and identifying new markets. Contact us on the screen, you can see several ways of actually contacting us. And hopefully together we can actually help you put your licensing project together and actually take your solution out to market in new and wonderful ways. I don't actually see any questions in the chat box. And either I didn't cover my webinar very well or I talked very fast, but we are actually ahead of time. So if there are any questions, if you do want to add them to the chat box now, I'll be more than happy to cover them.
Thank you, Abby. That was great. I think you've definitely highlighted what we need to think about when implementing a software monetization program and how it affects our business. I'd like to open up to the audience, as Abby just said, open up if there are any questions. We'll be happy to take them and answer them now.
Ava, I think our audience is actually here it is. We've got one. Okay, you'd like to receive presentation if possible. I don't see why we wouldn't be able to share the presentation, Ava.
No. Yeah, the presentation, everyone will receive a follow-up email from this webinar, the attendees, so you will have the presentation and the webinar, the recorded webinar, so you'll be able to share it.
And obviously, just give us time. This is a webinar that's running across all of the continents, various countries in several languages. And what we will be doing is probably going to take us about a week. So please don't panic if you haven't seen the presentation and the link immediately. We will actually be putting a whole package together and sending it out to all attendees at the same time. So just bear with us. We will share the presentation and the recording should you need to actually share this webinar with your colleagues. And of course, if there are any questions that you think of afterwards, please do not hesitate to drop us an email, get in touch. We'll be more than happy to cover anything after the fact as well.
Abby, there's just one point I would like to make, based on some of the things you said. Very often, because the business element, because licensing is handled by technologists, so the CIO, as many of us know, product management CIO, we try to go into the technology end of it. We do offer a workshop, and we're happy to visit with anyone who needs help. We do offer a workshop to help you to identify your business needs, right? It's like any other thing. It's when you define a product, you first look at the requirements which your customers need. And here, you are the customers, and we're happy to help you figure out what you need first from a program and then match it to the correct technology.
Okay, I think with that, we can end this session.
Okay. Thank you everyone for joining us today. Abby, thank you for joining us and presenting.
Ava, there is a really good question in there that I think people might be interested to hear.
Okay, sorry, go ahead.
And it's from VJ. We are having licensing from different vendors, different types of licensing, how to handle them. I don't know if VJ still stayed on, but I don't know whether you can actually respond to that one. They've obviously got different vendors and different licensing.
Yes, so that is absolutely something that can be handled. One of the ways is we have something called an EMS, a product called EMS, Entitlement Management System, and this solution allows you to work with multiple licensing technologies at once with your back end. It also allows you to integrate your back end. So if you choose to either maintain multiple licensing technologies, the way to combine them is through an integrated back end, or you can obviously, or you can integrate the various models, the various technologies into one technology, and do that let's see, and not do it all at once, but do it on a solution, a technology by technology basis, and see what's best, what works best. One of the real advantages of having a program in place like this is when you're acquiring new companies, because this way, every time you bring in a new technology, you're able to just integrate it into the program that's already in place, as opposed to having to manage with multiple solutions. So yes, it is something that is very advisable with regard to handling acquisitions, mergers, multiple product lines.
Okay, there's a lot more questions going on in there now. Actually, Ava, I don't know whether you can see them. Let me just open this
No, I
up.
can't, Abby. I'm sorry, but I can't see the question. You'll just have to.
Yeah, just bear with me. There's one on I will be using LDK Starter Kit and Sentinel HL Maxboard. I wish to use it as an enabled software if dongle present or disable software if dongle is not present. Is it possible within a week?
Within a time frame, yeah, that I'm going to leave that question to that will just take down, and we'll leave it to
Okay.
and one of the PSCs to answer in terms of time frame. We can get in touch with you, and yes, I won't commit to time frame, but using both dongles and software licenses is very possible.
Okay, I think there's a couple of questions here that we actually need to go back to the technical team and actually get some responses. There's another similar questions about multiple vendors and softwares and how to actually centralize them. So I think we will, if you don't mind, if we will come back with them. These questions are actually recorded and captured, so please do not worry if we haven't responded today. We will certainly get back to you with the right responses and how to actually handle such issues. Okay, and with that, I'd like to thank you all for your time. I hope this was an informative session and that you've actually walked away with some idea as to how to get your licensing project off the ground. If there's any issues that I didn't articulate or cover well, please, like I said, do drop us an email. We'll be happy to actually cover any issues that we have not covered already and answer any questions you may have that you have not put in the question chat box. Enjoy the rest of your day and keep a lookout for our next webinar session. Thank you all very much.